Masechta basra daf Yutes Amud Aleph. We're starting, of course, all the brachas. We learned in the Mishnah that a person shouldn't dig a bird or put a laundering tool next to a wall because it's damaging to the wall. So you have to distance yourself 3 tefachim from the wall. Zok the Gemara, Amar Rav Nachman, Amar Rabba bar Avua. Rav Nachman said in the name of Rabba, the son of Avua. Lo yishanu, in the Mishnah that we said, that it's enough, the distance, for one to distance himself 3 tefachim from the wall, that's enough from harming the wall, is element ha-mechamtzam. Ha-mechamtzam is what they used to have. They used to take the clothing and soak it in urine. And that's how that was a kind of a detergent then.
She says it differently.
Oh, Rashi said tzoyas kelev. Okay, but I heard it's urine, but okay. So even tzoyas kelev, they used to let it soak over there. So because that's what, and they waited till it smelled, and then it did. Then it did a good job. But that's soaking, so it's not spraying all around. So that if it's not spraying all around, it's just staying. The clothing is staying in the water and soaking there. It's not going to harm the wall. But what's if it's in the other bay where they did the rubbing and the water sprayed around? You needed 4 amas. A distance of 4 amas.
So
that type of a bay.
Need
3 tvachim. There you would need 4 amas. Similarly, the pools of the laundry, where they did the laundry, we had learned in the Mishnah. We learned in the Braisa and the Vrachsa Kevson is 4 amas. But we learned in the Mishnah, Shloisha Tvachim, so a stira to the Braisa that says you need 4 amas of a distance. It's alright, like Rav Nachman, that there's a difference what kind of a pool you're talking about. If it's a pool where they soaked the clothing in the Tzoyis HaKelev, then it's only 3 Tvachim. But if it was where they rubbed and you used the water to rub the clothing and get rid of the stains, then you needed 4 amas. Others is it as a stira. We learned in our Mishnah that a pool for launderers you only need 3 tefachim to distance yourself from the wall. We learned in the Braisa when in the Braisa we said you need a distance of 4 amas. And with the Yemara, and this Amar bar Avua, Loi kasha. It's not a question. Kan in our Mishnah is talking about a distance minam chamtzon. It's a pool that's made to soak the clothing there, and that's it. Kan, but in the Braisa we said we need 4 amas is talking about a pool which is min hanadyan, where they rub the clothing together. You learn openly. That's when you need only from a pool where they soak the clothing. That's the only place he says mechamtzim beferish. That's the type of a bird that we said we need a distance of 3 tvachim. And the reason again, like I told you before, because the one that was najim, the one that they did the scrubbing, the water would spray far. So that's why you needed a 4 amas of a distance. We learned in the Mishnah a person shouldn't dig a bird, only if he distanced himself from the wall of 3 tvachim, and then it says bisod bisid, and he smeared the walls of the bird with lime, so that the moisture can go through. That's one pshat. Or another pshat is because when you dig, it vibrates and it causes the wall damage. Anyway, it says that he should smear it with lime. But we learned in the Mishnah. Did we learn in our Mishnah that in addition to distancing 3 tvachim, you also have to smear the walls of the bird with lime? Or perhaps you don't need both. You need just 3 tvachim of a distance, or you can even go close up to the border, close up to the wall, as long as you smear the walls of the bird with lime. Says the Gemara Pshit B'Sad B'Sitnan. Surely it's a pashta zach that in the Reisha we're talking about in addition to the 3 tvachim, one has to distance himself. He has to smear the walls of the bay with seed. None. If you're going to think that it means also in a that, or either or that he can either distance himself 3 tvachim, or he can go close to the wall and smear the walls with lime. In then the Mishnah should have said all the cases as one. If you look in the Mishnah, then the Mishnah separates between the Reisha and the Sefer. In the Reisha it says Lo Yachla Adam bird, talks about a bird or shiach or maida, a cave or hamas hamayim or a stream of water and a nevraches and pools of launderer. So there it says this is so only from the case of his chaveda he has to be 3 tvachim visod basid. And then he gives another case of machikim, esagefes, vesazevel. One has to distant leftover the olives if it's pressed, the flesh of the olives and the manure and salt and lime and flintstones from the case of his chaver, 3 tvachim oisod basid. There it says. But if all the cases are going to be oisod basid, why did you learn it as separate, the Reish and the Sefer? Put all of them together and say either you distance yourself 3 tvachim or oisod basid. Why in the first, after the pools that you talk, or after the water cases, you say visod basid, and then you separate it with the cases of zevel, melech, and sid, and there you learn it again oisod basid. If both oisod basid and 3 tvachim, that's the only way that you could dig out a bird. You have to have these 2 conditions by all the cases. So put all the cases together and finish off saying, and the only way you could do it is if you distance yourself 3 tvachim from the wall, or you smear the walls with lime. Why do you separate them? And the mother Dilma mishum deloidami. So it's not. He says it's not a proof. We try to say so. Zaraya, the Reisha is dafke together with Sod Basid, and the Sefer is Oisod Basid. Dilma mishum deloidami hayazek lahayazeka. Says you have no proof. Your whole proof is because you didn't put it together. So the Reisha is in addition to the 3 tvachim. You have to do Sod Basid, and the Sefer is different. The Sefer is either 3 tvachim or oisod basid. Maybe that's not true. Maybe all of them is oisod basid. Why didn't you lump them all together? Because Reisha is zeked mesuna. The Reisha is talking about a hezek of water seeping through the moist which harms the wall, and Sefer bezeked the havla. And the Sefer is talking about the hezek of heat.
So
it's 2 different.
Why do you want to learn both the Reish and the Sefer both and talking about you have a choice? Why can't you say you have to have
together? He says he doesn't. He says you have no proof. Are you going to say the proof is if they were the same din, you should have put all the cases together? I can tell you no. The reason that he didn't put all the cases together because they're 2 separate gedarim. The first one is talking about a hezek because of the moist, and the other one, and he's telling you still. Either 3 tvachim or oisod basid, and the Sefer is talking about the harming of the wall is done by the heat, either flintstones, or oven, those things you're not allowed to put next to the wall.
And how much do you have to be marked? Also 3.
Yeah, but it's that he couldn't lamp them together. They're 2 separate as the type of azekas. It's nishkin raya that the different dinner. By the way, it says Rabbi Elazar ben Huknis. It makes sense oisod basid because it says Rabbi Elazar ben Huknis was a borisud she'enam abatipa. If the whole problem is because of the water that might seep through, it doesn't. If you put lime, that's enough. You can bring it up close to the wall. We see from Rabbi Elazar ben Huknis, he was considered as a bird that was smeared with lime. No, I'm just saying, I'm connecting with the others. So it was a bird suit, it was filled with, it was smeared with lime. Even not tipo, so you don't have to worry about the moist harming the wall. So maybe that's why it fits, either or. So I don't think the halacha is that way. I think the halacha is you need both. I think the Rambam says you need both. Let me see 6.
Do the contractors know these did it?
Okay. Okay, I'm not sure. I have to look through that. Toshmak, come in here and I'll bring you a raya to answer the suffix. If there was earth that you could dig with your hands, it was so soft. This one distance 3 tvachim Shloisha tvachim esad basid. By soft earth, we said that each one could dig on his side, providing that he has the two conditions. He has to distance himself 3 tvachim away from the wall, and he has to cover the walls with lime. So you see, time of the bava yadayim. The whole reason why you insisted both conditions, because the earth was so soft that it's very damaging to the other side. That's why you need side distancing of 3 tvachim together with putting lime. If the earth was not so soft that it could do easily damage to the other side, I wouldn't need both conditions. I would say either 3 tvachim or yisod basid. So you have an eye or yisod basid. Says you want to know who are they now? Really, the same thing applies. Even if the earth is not soft, I would say you need, in addition to the 3 tvachim, you have to smear the walls of the bar with seed. And why did you have to say a case of the earth being so soft? He needed it. I would have thought, I would have thought, oh, this is soft earth. It does easily damage to the other side. So 3 tvachim is not enough. I would say you need much more. Kamash Malon, that 3 tvachim is enough. He says no, whatever it is, but it's soft ground, and since it's soft, whatever you touch there, it's harming to the other side as well. So Kamash Malon, no, 3 tvachim is enough. We learned in the Mishnah, and the Hemshech of the Mishnah.
Why were they building barbers next to each other so much?
Because there was a sada beis hafshalchen. A field that needed irrigation, it wasn't enough rain. So they had to have beirers from where they waited for the rain to fill up. In order not to schlep them so far. So they had each person had a bird at the end of the field, and they would schlep the water, makes sense, at the border of the field, and water the whole field from the water that were in the beirers. One has to distance the olives. If they came out of the press, they have these flesh from the olives, and the manure, and the salt, the seed, and the lime, and the flintstone from the wall. These things you have to keep it away from the wall. 3 tvachim, they give off heat, and the heat is damaging to the wall. We learned in the Mishnah. Outside wall. No, I'm talking about outside the wall. No, that's in the ground. No, we're talking about he puts it right next to the wall. We're talking about putting. Now we're not talking about buried. We're talking about putting these flintstones right next to the stone, or putting the. So that's no, not this case, not the hemshech. This is the safe of the Mishnah. Says Gemara, we learned similarly when it comes to Shabbos, the zayin of atmana, that you conserve the heat in the in blankets or whatever. Nan hasim, we learned in the Mishnah the isa of atmana. It says with what could you conserve the heat? As long as it's not moisef hevel, it doesn't give off more heat, then you can conserve the heat with such material. And what can't you do? So he says, ein time gefes. You cannot conserve the heat with these flesh of the olives because they give off more heat. Nor with manure of the animals. If you put it around the pot, it'll give off more heat. Not with salt, seed, not with lime, and not with sand. Bein lachim, bein yaveshim, whether these items are moist or dry. Over here, what did you say? You're not allowed to use sand around a warm pot because it's moist hevel, so you're not allowed to do atmana. Here you said, and over here you said, what can't you put? Because it's moist hevel. It's like cooking. It's cooking on Shabbos. You're making it.
So what?
That's atmana. That's yeah, but on Shabbos, you're doing it. Here he brings down the. So it's talking about stomach. Say Shema Yavel Hatman Bedemetz. Naina Efer Cham Sheish B'Chol. You take Gacholim, and maybe it's also you can also steer. So okay, it's all many things. Yeah, it's exeda. So again, over here it says sand. You shouldn't use for atmana. Here in our Mishnah we said what kind of heat is damaging to the wall? Flintstone. Why over here do we use sloyim? And there by atmana we used choil, sand. Because it's not the derech of people to do hatmana with rocks. So he brings down because the heat leaves from between the rocks. It's not, you can't put them together. Cannot preserve the heat, yes. Like the mother, Abaye, so Abaye said to Rav Yosef, is it then the derech of a person to use shearings of wool to wrap around the pots, and the tongues of purple wool, which is also unusual to put around the pot, to wrap around the pot. So, and nevertheless, you learned the Tanya. We learned in the Brayse. People wrap around with the shearings of wool, and with are also pieces of wool that was combed out with a comb, and with tongues of purple wool. The mulchim is such clothing that was torn clothing and worn out clothing that they used to wrap around the pots.
Even though it's books,
yeah, if it's made for begadim, even talking lay some. You're not allowed to use them on Shabbos because they are really designated for melachas begadim. So these things, but he says it's not the derech to use it. So it's not the derech, but he did it already before Shabbos. We're just telling you it's such items. Why do we say it's muksa on Shabbos? On Shabbos it's muksa. Because usually it's designated for begadim, not to wrap around the... Yeah. So you see, it's not the derech to wrap around the kederes. Elam Abaye, so Abaye gives a different answer. Because you cannot say because it's not the derech, because look, the Mishnah gives examples of wrapping around the pot by Atmano with items that are unusual to wrap around with. Says, you want to Elam Abaye, rather Abaye says, Yagid Alavreye. From his friend, you can learn out for him. Meaning, so he says, Tana ha'chaslayim, v'ladin l'chel. Here, by our Mishnah, when we said B'negei to harming the wall, we learned slayim, the flintstones. But really, the same thing would it be applicable to sand? Tana hasam chel. There he learned sand, but really, v'ladin l'slayim. The same thing applies to rocks because Yagid alavrei. You can learn out from his friend for yourself. Each one can learn out for the other one. Rava says that's how you learn. If you're using the term, we learn out one from the other. Learn in one case all the dinim, and then learn one by either the case of hatmana or learn one either by the case where it harms the wall. Learn only one case and say v'chein, and all the other cases will have the same thing like by hatmana. Or the reverse.
They shouldn't repeat it.
You shouldn't repeat so many cases. Here you're saying both places, all the cases.
Then you
just left out one detail.
You gotta go look up what it says.
Yeah, but he doesn't. If you want to use the word Yagda Lavrei, it means that you're saving. You're relying on your friend. So right. So if you when do you say Yagda Lavrei? You in one place you only give one case, and then you say and all the other cases similar to the way we said by Hatmana, or the reverse. By Hatmana you give one case, and we say all the other cases, like we said in the Geir, by a case that it harms a wall, that you have to distance yourself 3 tvachim. That's the normal way of how Yagda Lavrei works. Says Rava says, Hasam Hainu time the reason is the loy katani shloim mishum the mishtakhe la lagder. Using stones to wrap around the pot, it's going to break the pot. And here in our Mishnah, this is the reason why we didn't learn sand. Sand works 2 ways. If you put it around the hot pot, yeah, it'll give off more heat. If you put it around the cold area, it's going to stay cold. A wall is cold. When you have sand next to the wall, that's not harmful because the wall is cold. But when it comes to atmana and you put it around a hot pot, yes, it's going to be by some hevel. Zog the Gemara V'Hatan Rabbi Yoshe Chayil, but Rabbi Yoshe learned in Tosefta that one of the cases that you have to distance from the wall is sand. So how does he learn? Says the Gemara, not because of heat. Hasam in the Sunnah, there it's because of the moist that comes through, the water that comes through that will hurt the foundation of the wall. Tana,
What's the type of
Misuna means moist, and it's talking about wet sand. Wet sand, so that it goes into the ground further.
Really sand. It means earth, no? Maybe
He means b'chilach.
Earth,
Yeah,
earth.
sand is earth. What do you mean? Of course.
Well, you go to the beach,
It's like
sand,
muddy.
It doesn't hold water.
No, it means a muddy sand that it goes through and it hurts the foundation. So if you want to tani the nami list we look at the sunnah. He says our Tana, which it could be talking about chayil, it could be talking about sand. Why couldn't you talk about sand in our case and say it's by wet sand? And the reason why you have to distance yourself 3 tvachim is because of the moist. Says the Yimana, there's no reason to learn chayil lach. You already learned the stream of water. That's enough. Says the Yimana, atami like katani amas hamayim, katani nevrach zakevsin. He said, because the Tana learned Amas Hamayim, that's why you don't have to say Cholach. So, but we learned another case, Nebrach Zakevsin, the pool of the launderers, which is included in Amas Hamayim. So say Cholach also. And these two cases of Amas Hamayim, together with the Nebrach Zakevsin, meaning the stream of water, with the pool of launderers, you need Itan Amas Hamayim. If you would only learn the case of Amas Hamayim, a stream of water, Mishum de Kaviyah, there, it's always going to stay. The stream of water is there to stay. But when it comes to the pool for a launderer to launder the clothing, is lavdafke is going to stay in that trade.
So maybe
Rashi says so that's why he doesn't count. So I would have said by nevrach zakevsin, since it's not there to stay, because people don't remain launderers for the rest of life. They usually go up in a trade, to a more cheshva trade. So I would say, no, he doesn't have to distance himself 3 tvachim because it's not there to stay. And if I would say the case of the pool for the launderers, I would say, Mishum the kamo v'kaime. The kamo means that it's gathered, the kaime, and the water is staying in one place. So obviously when water stays in one place, it's going to start leaking down further. When it's water that's running, no, I would say it doesn't. The water lavdafka will leak because it's constantly running. It doesn't have time to sit in one place and go down. That's why I needed both cases. Since it's covered, gathered, the kaime, and it's standing in one place, so the water there, the moist is, and it's going to come down more down. It's going to seep through the ground deeper than Amas Hamayim that's constantly running. That's why we need both the cases. But Mashain came when it comes to Cholach, it's included between the two. It says once you distance this planting the seeds, as Amacharesha and the plowing from the wall 3 tvachim. In fact, why did the Mishnah have to say Zroyim? What do you have to say about the seeds? Say technically before you do seeds, you first plow and then you throw in the seeds, right? You can't even do Macharesha next to the wall because the vibration is harmful to the wall.
Even if you don't see
if you don't see, but just for seeding you need charisha. Charisha you don't even allow next to the wall because of the vibration that it breaks the foundation of the wall. Says you want to know, you can plant seeds from mapelas yard. You don't have to have the plowing doing it. You don't have to go so deep. You can throw seeds in with just using your hands. Says the Gemara, macharisha. What do I need a case of plowing? Say, hey, you can't plant the seeds anyway because the seeds, the roots, will harm your side of the wall, and and plowing is only for planting. So for what do you need macharish and the Mishnah? And the Gemara, it's bechirish li'ilonis. It's not talking about plowing for planting. It's plowing around the trees to getting rid of the bad weeds around the tree. Yeah, but it makes the tree grow better. So we shouldn't have macharisha nor zriya, but take mishumaya because you need really water for planting and for charisha, and you're not allowed to pour water next to the wall. So the Tana Eretz Yisrael, the Tana lived in Eretz Yisrael. The Chsid, like it says, it says it's going to get the rainwater from heaven. The waters will come. So we don't have the concern that he has to come onto a, man-made water. So therefore, I would say he can go close to the wall. But Mashain came when it comes to Cholach, it's included between the two. Machiki says Zroyim. It says it's going to get from the rainwater from heaven. The waters will come. So we don't have the concern that he has to come onto a man-made water. So therefore, I would say he can go close to the wall. That's why he had to tell you have to distance yourself by Zoyim and by Macharisha. You want to say when you plant seeds, the roots go sideways? I'm going to show you it's not so. But none.
Well, trying to say that it goes straight down?
It goes straight down. It doesn't go sideways. But now we learned in the Mishnah, Hamavrich hagefen ba'aretz, im ein al gaba ofa shleishet tvachim lo yava zera alav. It says if somebody takes a vine branch and he sticks it, it's not closed there. He sticks it into the ground. So this piece that's on the ground, you're not allowed to plant right on top of it, because the seeds are gonna get its unique from the branch that's right under the ground. But on the sides you could. It says if over that branch of the vine that you put into the ground is not deep 3 tvachim, lo yavazer Allah. Don't seed any whatever it is tfua over the vine. It's going to be yonik from that branch of the vine. But we learned on that. But on the side of if you know exactly where the branch is underground, so on the side you could see. How could you see it on the side? You said when you put the seeds in, the shoroshim go sideways. So it's anyway going to get a unique. How could you allow it? So Rabbi Chag said the name Rabbi Yossi mipnei shemachlidin es hakarka umayna lefotichuach. He says you're right. It doesn't go litzdadin. It doesn't go to the sides. The reason why you're not allowed to plant it next to a wall is not because it goes sideways, because it makes holes in the grounds. It weakens the whole ground around it. Even when machlida means noikfim, it makes holes in the karka. It starts making holes, so the karka now becomes, once a karka has a hole on the bottom of it, so it becomes weak. The karka, it's not holding the foundation well. And it causes that the earth should become soft, right? And this causes that the karka under the foundation of the kesel should not be good, and it
because of the roots.
Because of the roots going down, it softens the whole karka around it. So it says, it says, and urine from the wall should be 3 tvachim away. Baba Chana said, a person could urinate by the side of the wall of his friend.
That's what we do. If there's no bathroom around, you go to.
But we said in the Mishnah you have to distance yourself 3 tvachim. When it comes to clay bricks, it dissolves it. It's a very powerful ingredient. With the chsiv, where do we see that? It says v'chrati la'acham mashtem b'kir. It says that his acham, the Eibishter cursed him that all his charm will be destroyed. Mashtem b'kir, he calls us acham. The utzer, and he's going to lose his whole wealth. The azuv, and all the cattle that he has will also be taken away. Be yisrael, meaning with a big peso. So from this, that the pasuk describes a person. How does he describe this charm? Mashtim bikir, a person who urinates on the wall. So you see, you could urinate right by the wall. In fact, the Gemara about not nam, but we learned from the Mishnah, our Mishnah, as made that you cannot urinate right up to the wall. You have to go 3 tvachim away from the wall, because it's harmful for the wall. And the Gemara, our Mishnah is talking about b'sheifchen. He takes a whole shisel that somebody made in, and then he pours out for many people, and he pours it right on the wall. So that's no good. But just urinating, one person urinating by the wall, you could. Says the Gemara, it says Lo yishbach adam mayim bitzad kosher chaveda. It says a person shouldn't pour water by the side of the wall of his friend. Elam kein hichim imanish leishat tvachim. Only if he distanced himself 3 tvachim. So you see, a person is allowed to be mashtin mayim by the kosher chaveda. You see. Because there it says only shvicha, says the Gemara hasam nami b'sheifchen. There it's also talking about b'sheifchen. Toshma, come in here. I'll bring you a rai from the Baraisa. It says lo yashlen adam mayim b'tzad kosher shechaveda elim kein hichim imenu shleishim tvachim. It says b'feish, a person shouldn't urinate on the side of the wall of his friend, only if he distanced himself 3 tvachim. But when do we say it? Only by bricks which are made out of clay. But if it's a wall made out of stone, enough that it shouldn't do harm. The kama, how much by stone is the shear that it won't do harm? Tefach, 1 tefach. V'shal tsuma, if there's a bedrock under the wall, so then mutter, then you're allowed to do it right up to the wall, because the urine can't damage a bedrock. To you, so you have a contradiction on Rabbi Bachana, because here you said that he was matter to be mashtin right by the kaisel, right?
But here it says it's qualified.
And here it says lo yashtin other mayim betzat kaisel chaveda elam kain hirchik shleisha tvachim. So it's a kasha. Says the and says the Gemara Rabbi Bachana krokama. And Rabbi Bachana also brought a pasuk that you could be mashtim right up to the wall, because he uses the description of a person that all the scharim of Achrav will be destroyed. He called him mashtim mikir, so that he urinates on the wall. Says there he means the kavanah of the pasuk wasn't referring to a person. Afilu midi the darkei lishtuni bekir. Even such a thing that's the derech to be mashmekir lo yishavikna lei. I won't let live, meaning I'll destroy. Hashem says of achos.
Like his dogs.
Oh, my Neil, what are we referring to? Kalba, a dog. A dog urinates on a wall. So that kind of urination of a dog, that can go straight to the kaisa because it's not harmful. He's not talking about of a person.
After the person, he says something else. What did he say?
What? That he's going to take away the wealth. He's going to take away the cattle from Achos. Cattle was not a hunt.
So the first in Kalba, the money from who?
First the wealth.
No, but before that was the
Mashta Mikir. Yeah, first the dogs and then the wealth.
Well, from who?
His wealth. His wealth will be taken away.
Curse word? Did you say mashta mikir is a curse word?
Anyway, so the Gemara now is going to talk about the seeding. There's such seeds that.
Why is he responsible for doing? Why is he responsible?
No, it's a domestic dog that he has. You have a lot of people here going with dogs over here. Today they go with scoopers and everything. They have everything you need over here.
They go
So,
with a bag.
yeah. Anyway, so the Gemara is going to talk about, in the future, we're going to talk about the seating next to a wall shouldn't be forbidden because it's not like it's there. And here we're going to talk about it. Tuvi bar Kisna Mashmol. Tuvi bar Kisna said the name of Shmuel. Rokik, a wafer. Now you have two houses that are connected to each other. In one house there's a mace, and there's a hole that goes from one house to the other. And if it has the hole of the size of a tefach, then the tumor goes from one house straight into the other house. But what's if the tefach was diminished by a wafer? So he says, that will not diminish the tefach. Why? Because it's going to be taken away. A wafer that somebody's going to take it soon and eat it. So we can't, something that's old to be taken away is not considered as a closure over the tefach, a chatzitza. In fact, if you're talking about something that you're going to take away, why did you take such a small item like a little wafer? Take even a big loaf of bread that really closes up the whole hole. Nami, we should say it's not going to block the tumah because it's going to be taken away. Says he wants to say it as a not only not only a loaf of bread, where we know for sure it's not going to get spoiled. Since it's royal achila, a person won't be mavatal and say leave it in that space. He's definitely going to take it. Avol rakik, but a wafer which is very small, the mimis from the moist of the wall, it gets the room, it becomes disgusting. Maybe he's being mavatal and he's saying, okay, let it stay in the wall. And that wafer, and now it's less than a tefla, it should be considered as a chatzitza. Kamashwan, it's not going to be considered as a chatzitza. In fact, you got a teflik lay. A miyut. That because of the miyut, so it's less than a tefah. So it's not. So it's blocking the tumor from coming into the other house. In fact, you might have a teflik lay learn that the reason why the wafer is not going to diminish the tefach, the havalei davar shum mekabel tuma, because it's a eichel, and a eichel is mekabel tuma. The kol davar shum mekabel tuma ene chaytzis mepnei tuma, and anything that is mekabel tuma cannot serve as a chatzitza to block the tuma.
Where's actually the tumah?
The tumah is in one house, a base. There's a tefach open into the other house. So now he put a wafer in that hole, so he made it less than a tefach. But the wafer should not serve as a diminishment in the tefach, being that it's aichel is makabel tuma, and anything that's makabel tuma cannot serve as a chatzitza to block from the tuma. So something you want to know, it wasn't makabel tuma because shenilas been made payers, because it was needed in juice. Fruit juice. So the only things that could, the only liquids that can make something mushal l'kaval tuma is yayin, wine, the basra, or honey from a bee, shemen zayis, cholav, tal, and dam, mayim. Yad shachadam. That's the simon for it, but not made payers. Made payers is not mushal l'kaval tuma. So that's why it could serve as a chatzitza. It's not mekabel tuma. Meis affecting marakasha kupim le'yatreven, a box that was filled with straw, which is not a Michael Adam, and it's not mekabel tuma. V'chavis me'yatreven, and a barrel that was filled with dried figs, and it wasn't mushal mekabel tuma. Hamanach mechaloi, that they was placed in that window between the two houses. Roin kol she'ili yinat v'yachelin tavenu gregor islam v'nei atzmam. We look. If the straw or the goigeres that's in the window could sit there without the barrel or box under it, then it could serve as a chatzitza between the two houses, and the tumah will not travel. It's gonna be mevatel that window, and that's it. There's no opening. The tumah is not going to go out as long as it doesn't have to come onto the box that's holding it, or the keg. But if it has to come onto the barrel or to the box, it cannot serve as a chatzitza. What about teva and chazle behemtei? Even if it's not relying on the box, but teva, the straw in the window shouldn't serve as a chatzitza because it's fit to give it to the animals to eat.
So we'll take it away.
So how could you consider it as a chatzitza? And the Gemara B'Sarya, it's talking about that the straw was rotten. But it's fit to use it for the bricks, to build bricks. And the Gemara it's talking about that it has thorns, so you can't use that kind of straw. But it's good for a fire. Says Gemara b'Mesuna that it was moist, the fire wouldn't catch. In fact, Gemara has a gadol, but for big fire it could work. And Gemara has a gadol l'shchiach. A big fire is unusual. So Gemara Gregori is hachazalei, but the figs are fit for eating. A mashmol kishis b'shei slifu. It's talking about is favermed. It was wormed up. It was infested with worms. It's talking about it was filled with worms. This barrel, how are we talking about that we said that it cannot serve as a chatzitza? Either pumelabar, if the mouth of the chavis was towards the outside, meaning not facing with the house of the mace, it was facing the opposite side. Says you let the barrel itself be a chatzitza, because the opening was on the not towards the mace, it was on the opposite side. The kli cheres any matami v'gaboy. A earthen keli is not; it doesn't become tummy from the outside, only from the inside. And the mouth was in the house, facing the house without the mace. It wasn't facing the house with the mace. It says the puma legav. We have to say the opening of the barrel was facing the house of the mace. If you want, I can tell you another answer. The puma labar really was facing the house without the mace. And here we're talking about by a barrel of metal. Metal is mekabel tuma even from the outside, and that's why it can't serve as a chatzitza. It's a tameh. Kol davar shemekabel tuma, it cannot serve as a chatzitza.